Hi everyone, this is Miss P, and today we're going to practice multiplying two fractions, or multiplying one fraction by another fraction. Let's start practicing multiplying two fractions using the example of 1/2 times 1/5. Whenever we're multiplying two fractions, what we're really trying to do is we're trying to figure out how much the first fraction of the second fraction is equal to. So in this case, we're trying to find 1/2 of 1/5. Now, to solve a multiplication of fractions problem is actually pretty straightforward and pretty easy. So we're going to go through the steps first, solve the problem, and then I'm going to show you why that's the case using a visual. So let's start by multiplying 1/2 times 1/5. When you're multiplying two fractions, you can first multiply the numerators to find the numerator of your answer, and then multiply the denominators to find the denominator of your answer. So let's use that strategy to solve this here. First to the numerators, 1 times 1. And as we know, 1 times 1 equals 1. Simple enough. Next, let's move to the denominators. 2 times 5 equals 10. So here, 1/2 times 1/5 equals 1/10. Simple enough, right? Let me show you why that's the case using a visual. Let's think about this box as the whole. Remember, 1/2 times 1/5 is finding 1/2 of 1/5. So let's start by breaking this box up horizontally into fifths. Here we go. Now our box has been broken horizontally into 5 equal parts, or fifths. The parts might not be exactly equal because my drawing is not perfect, but it's close enough. We know we're talking about fifths, but what I really want to represent is one of those 5 parts, or 1/5. So I've just shaded in 1/5 of the square horizontally. Now I'm looking for 1/2 of 1/5, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to break this box up vertically into 2 equal parts, or halves. Here we go. Now I've got fifths horizontally and halves vertically. But remember, I'm looking for one of 2 equal parts, or 1/2. So I'm going to shade one of the 2 equal parts. Now I've shaded 1/2 vertically and 1/5 horizontally. And since I'm looking for 1/2 of 1/5, what I'm really looking for is how much of the box is shaded in both colors, or in both directions, horizontally and vertically. And as you can see, one of the parts is shaded horizontally and vertically. So that's going to be my numerator, that one part, that one of the equal parts. And my denominator is going to represent how many equal parts the box has been broken into. And in this case, it's 10 equal parts. 2 groups of 5 if I'm looking vertically, or 5 groups of 2 if I'm looking horizontally. And as you can see, this visual represents the answer that we arrived at, 1/10. 1/2 times 1/5 equals 1/10. 1/2 of 1/5 is 1/10. Let's practice multiplying two fractions using a couple of other examples. All right, let's start with this top example, 2/3 times 4/5. Remember, to multiply two fractions accurately, all you have to do is multiply the numerators to get the new numerator, and multiply the denominators to get your new denominator. So 2/3 times 4/5. Let's start with the numerators. 2 times 4 equals 8. Now let's move to the denominators. 3 times 5 equals 15. Simple enough. 2/3 times 4/5 equals 8/15. Let's try this again with one last problem. 7/8 times 1/2. Let's start with our numerators. 7 times 1 equals 7. And now the denominators. 8 times 2 equals 16. 7/8 times 1/2 equals 7/16. Remember, whenever you're trying to multiply two fractions, multiply the first numerator by the second numerator to get the numerator in your answer, and then multiply the first denominator by the second denominator to get the denominator of your answer. You simply multiply across numerators, multiply across denominators, and you have your answer.